Let's go. Week
Sad.
18. Playoffs. Play
Going on, bro.
playoffs. Run routes, baby.
Madness.
It's playoff time. Week 18. Let's just
Made it through another season.
Yes, sir. Let's just dive right
And
into it.
fantasy season.
Let's just dive right into it, man. Look, we're looking at Pittsburgh Steelers going into the Baltimore Mightiful Ravens right now. The over-under's 35.5. Pitt is giving the Baltimore Ravens at home 4 points. All right, because they're handing points out like Oprah in this game because Lamar Jackson's not gonna play. Points for you. Points for you. Okay, but Zay Flowers, I'm pretty sure, is going to play in this game. No Kenny Pickett, right? What are we talking about? Mason Rudolph. Wow. What's going on? Playoff implications here. Pittsburgh Steelers potentially, if the cards fall proper, they could get into the playoffs. Sam, what do you think on the Pittsburgh Steelers Baltimore Ravens game? Are they in or are they out?
Well, first, I want to start on the betting. I don't want anything to do with this game as far as betting goes. Any of these games that have no meaning to either of the or to one or either of the teams, I want nothing to do with. I know the Steelers need to win this game. Still don't want anybody from the Steelers, and Baltimore's sitting all their players. If Zay Flowers plays, still got Tyler Huntley throwing the ball. Not a big fan. Hopefully, you're not playing fantasy, or I'm sorry. Hopefully, you're not betting on this game this week. But if you are, me personally, I'd take the Steelers. Along with Lamar being out, you got Marlon Humphreys out, you got one of their linebackers is out, and another one of their DBs is out. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but if I was betting, I'd bet on the Steelers. This game means nothing to Baltimore. They got a great team, and their backups are probably just as good as half the Steelers players. But I mean, with the odds as they are, I'm taking the Steelers on the money line, hoping for the best.
Money line seems like the proper play there. Rudolph after Christmas, Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley's got a handful of starts in his career. Well-coached team in the Ravens, so I feel like even though they're going to be, second stringers for the majority of the lineup over there, they're going to play hard. This is part of a team and part of a really good team, part of a really good coach team. And you're going to get everything from Pittsburgh on the other side of it. Shout out to my brother Jude. I hope he win. My personal thing, I like the Ravens getting the 3.5. I think that's fair compensation, considering the circumstances, the setting for the game being in Baltimore late in the season. Interesting on the over and under. That's been bet down from 39 opening up all the way down to 35.5, as Eddie pointed out. I like the over on this one because last game it was 10-17. It was a tight, grimy game. Not to think that it couldn't be that way again, but I think there's a lot on the line. So with a lot on the line, you're gonna have opportunities at turnovers, situations where people are going for it. I like it to go over. I like it to at least get to 37 on the total. So I like the over on the game. I like the Ravens with 3.5. I think there's a legit shot for Pittsburgh to win. A win keeps them alive. They need a Jags loss. They need a Bills loss. So there's still some things at play there. We'll talk about those games in the future. But I like Ravens 3.5. I like the over. How about you, Ed?
No doubt. I mean, this is a classic rivalry, classic matchup. I heard Ryan Clark speak about these two teams and all the player safety rules and all the things. You gotta look back in the bag and pull some things out in the history. Hines Ward coming over the middle, hitting hard defensive backs to block for his running back and breaking jaws and hurting people. And I mean, this is what these two teams do. This is two historical franchise that go hard on the lines on the field, man. These two teams go at it. Very historical rivalry here. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens getting 4 points. They just been electric. I believe in my heart of hearts they have the most depth of these two teams. I I think it will be a close one. I don't think it'll go over. I'm taking the under. I do think that the Baltimore Ravens will show up at home and definitely be a thorn in the side of the Pittsburgh Steelers and not allow them to walk away with this one and potentially cover by 3, end up getting the win by 1 point. I like them winning here. I'm going to take Pittsburgh with sitting Baltimore. I believe Tyler Huntley's been on the squad long enough to get me good 4 quarters. I'm put some faith in it, and I wouldn't bet on this unless I had to. I wouldn't bet on this, but since I have to, I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens, and if you don't have to, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I like you said, historical matchup right here. That's one of the reasons that I do think it's going to be a real good game. These guys are going to play hard as shit. That was a great point.
Absolutely.
I'm just going the opposite direction, like I said earlier, as far as that. But it could go either way. It's going to be another historical matchup either which way. I just think the Pittsburgh Steelers got more to play for is really what it comes down to for me. One other thing I wanted to add, I know 95% of fantasy leagues are not playing in their championship. I hope you're not playing in the championship. If you are, you need to go into a new league because that league sucks. You should not be doing that. But if you are, if George Pickens ends up playing, I mean, you're not going to have many options this week. Half the games mean nothing. So you're probably going to play George Pickens, Mason Rudolph. You might want to play depending on who you got in your team. You really just got to look at your lineup. But I would not be playing anybody on the Baltimore Ravens other than maybe their defense. But even then, not a good look. So if you're in a fantasy league and you're in the championship, go to a new league.
Well, coincidentally enough, my league is playing the championship this week. So maybe everybody needs to bail out. I like if I'm going to talk about fantasy, maybe can score a touchdown here. I like Melvin Gordon. He's probably going to get the most run out of the Ravens running backs, and I think he could find the end zone. I don't think he's going to go off for, over 60 yards rushing, but I think he could find the end zone. He's scored a lot of touchdowns in his career, and somebody's got to score points in this thing. I think that's a good bet. Anytime touchdown type of situation. That might be some good money if you want to throw a couple of bucks on that as well. But yeah, what's up?
Quick question: You don't think Dalvin Cook's going to play? I haven't looked into it. I don't know anything, but Dalvin Cook is over there. You think he's getting any playing time this week?
He probably is going to see the field. I don't doubt it, and that was a tremendous sign by them. I think that was almost like a sign to keep him away from other teams. Me and Eddie kind of talked about a couple of days ago off camera. Like, my personal thoughts on it was, if I'm Baltimore, I don't want to sign him simply because why mess up a good thing that you got going here? But, it makes sense. Keep him away from other teams and add some more depth to a running back room that traditionally gets destroyed through the year. And the Ravens have done this all year without their bell cow, J.K. Dobbins. So it makes sense. It was a good move. And, yeah, to answer your question, I think he probably does see the field. I don't think it's going to be a lot, but I'm sure he gets. How about you, Ed? You got anything else for this one?
It'd be interesting to see. I really don't know too much. I haven't read too much on him coming there and definitely getting suited up week 1. It'd be nice to see what he looks like behind the Baltimore Ravens offensive line. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it predominantly in the playoffs. I don't know if it'd be a good idea to run him from a business standpoint. But I would like to see it. And the only reason why I say from a business standpoint is because, potentially they might be running the ball a lot in this game, and having Huntley drop back and pass when he needs to, or in play action situations where potentially you think they're going to run the ball. So they're going to try to set the run up and then hit you with the pass. So potentially I see a potential, but I think at this point, you need him for the playoffs, and if he thinks he needs game time, to give it to him. But I think from a business standpoint, you sit him till the playoffs. He's sat this long all year.
Yes, he
No.
did.
I think he's going to be big time. I think he's going to be big time in the playoffs. I think they're going to. I think he's going to be big in the passing game. I don't think he's going
Yes.
to run it like that, but I think he's going to be big in the passing game in the playoffs. Personally,
Yeah,
I
the Ravens definitely used the running back receiving wise. Justice Hills had plenty of big plays in the
oh, yeah.
passing game. And even Gus Edwards a couple of weeks ago against San Francisco took one for 30 plus. So I agree with you saying.
I think if there's any bulletin board material for what he went through on the Jets and what Minnesota did to him, I mean, to be honest, to be quite honest, if I'm Minnesota, I mean, I think that I look good in my decision. No? I mean, how do you guys feel about Minnesota making their decision? I mean, they got to keep their money. They were wrong about Madison, but they got to keep their money. I mean, so from a business standpoint, he didn't do anything on the Jets, so it appears to be in this instant, from a Minnesota standpoint, it looked like they did the right thing. Do you guys agree?
I do not. I do not agree. I think he would have been really good if he stayed in Minnesota again. Obviously, looking back looking back now that they had all the issues at quarterback and everything, I think it worked out for him. And yeah, they're happy now. But if Kirk Cousins did not get hurt, I think I would be. I'm very confident I'd be saying that they should have had him and they really could have used him, because I think he would have been the same back this year. And I think that the reason he hasn't done anything for the Jets is because, one, he hasn't played, and I know Brees Hall's doing a lot, but he's not getting touches, and their offensive line is horrible.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a Dalvin Cook problem. I think he's going to be really good in the playoffs. I do.
no doubt.
I
No
think it
doubt.
was I think it was he would have provided more than what Madison did this year, I feel like, but there's a distinct reason why he didn't see the field that much for the Jets. So it does make me wonder how much maybe gas he's got in the tank. You know, he's been carrying that shoulder injury for a couple of seasons now. He was supposed to be healthy here. When I did see him on the field, didn't look anything special. And Brees Hall was not productive all season on the ground. So to say that you couldn't crack that lineup when they were basically looking for answers all season to somebody, and you couldn't provide that spark as a multi all pro back that signed a nice deal and wanted more money, it does leave some suspicions on the table. So we'll see. I think it's a good fit in Baltimore because he doesn't have to be the guy, and they'll definitely take advantage of him. We've seen Latavius Murray in previous years there in Baltimore. We've seen even Devonta Freeman years back. So like they take even Le'Veon Bell. They take retreads and they get a little gas out and they squeeze it out. So if Dalvin's got it to show, he's going to have the opportunity to show it. And it's a great team to be on right now, and they're definitely poised to make a strong run.
I agree absolutely. If there is any tread left on the tire, you will see it when he enters this Raven situation here, because not only the fact that this offensive line is blocking really well and the offense is doing really well this season, but it's the culture as well. It's Harbaugh. It's all these things. So if there is any gas left in the tank, I'm sure this will be an incredible opportunity for him and his career to potentially end up closing out with a ring here. If there's not anything.
I got a quick question about the Steelers, since we're on this game still. Given how the season turned out, you know, obviously it's Kenny Pickett's second season. They were hoping for a little bit more out of him. The offense struggled, lots of blame going on the OC and stuff like that. It's kind of taken off since, you know, Mason Rudolph has taken the helm. Is there, going into next year, if you're Pittsburgh, you're sitting in the front office, are you looking at possibly taking a quarterback in the first couple of rounds? Maybe not with your top pick in the draft necessarily, but there are a lot of options for this draft. And I'm not saying name one in particular, but do you think that they should be looking at possibly moving in a different direction? Because we see year after year, Pittsburgh's right there at the playoffs, if not in. Tomlin's got that streak of winning seasons, so they got a good football team. There's
Absolutely.
no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
But is Pickett, in your guys' eyes, worth another shot next year? Or do you think that they take a look possibly at quarterbacks this season?
Sam, I'll take this one and then I'll slide. Absolutely. I absolutely think if you're a team and everything's about the team and we're all about the team and this is an unsure position and this is a unsure situation where you're unsure, but you have potential faith. I see nothing wrong with you being unsure with the person you have and wasting draft capital to try and get a guy. Like if a guy falls to you in the second or third round and he is a hopeful, and your scouts have paid attention to this guy and potentially see something in him, I don't see anything wrong with you trying to shore up the position to make sure. On top of the fact that if you are sure about Kenny Pickett and you do think that he's the future, but you still need to have someone on the roster because he gets hurt. If you've seen all you want to see from Mason Rudolph, then you just move on and you try and get a guy who's going to give your team a chance to win when Kenny goes down. If you believe in your heart of hearts that Kenny's the guy, I see nothing wrong with a little security blanket. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I'm definitely moving on from him. I'm not saying I'm getting him off the team, maybe as a backup, but in my mind, their third string quarterback came out here and has looked better than him, and obviously better than Mitch Trubisky. But Mason's looked better than him, and he has the same O line. At the end of the day, maybe the O line is the problem. Maybe Kenny Pickett, if he had a great, if he goes to San Francisco, maybe he's Brock Purdy. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I really don't know. But at the end of the day, Mason Rudolph is playing just as good as your starting quarterback. So at that point, no need to keep both of them because they're both playing as well as they can for this team at this point. So I'm moving on. I'm trying to find somebody else, and along with improving that O line. But he's nothing special. That he's no Pat Mahomes. He's none of that. If Mason Rudolph's playing equally as good as him, then I see no problem moving on, trying to find somebody else and trying to find another franchise quarterback.
It's a difficult choice because we all look at that Steelers talent level with Deontay Johnson and Pickens and Freiermuth at tight end and Najee at running back. And it's hard not to scratch your head of why they can't be better than what they were all season long. I wasn't crazy high with Pickett coming out of the draft. And to me, the Steelers kind of feel like the Titans. It's like, do you keep on taking second-round quarterbacks and seeing if this thing kind of fits? Where do you go? It's a tough situation that Pittsburgh's in. I can look at other teams around the league and say they have a better situation even if they have less, because this is one of those situations where you've seen some bright spots out of Pickett. You've seen what he can do, but to Eddie's point, he's gotten injured a lot too. This is back-to-back seasons where he's missed multiple games, and he's struggled a lot too. But he's a young quarterback. It's the second year in the league, so it's tough. But I agree that if something falls your way, I think you do pull the trigger and take a shot, similar to the Titans or similar to the Lions last year with taking Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. And it can't hurt your situation to have something to pivot to.
Absolutely. Well, if we don't have anything else, we're going to move on to our next massive playoff implication game here. We're looking at the Indianapolis Colts. Last time these two teams met, 2023, September 17th, Indianapolis 31, the Texans 20. Texans end up losing that game, but hold on the rest of the season to be 9-7. It's a three-way tie, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Houston. Three-way tie here. Texans going to Indianapolis to battle with 47.5 on the over and the under, and Houston's giving up 1 point. How do you guys feel about Uncle Rico here? Indianapolis Colts hanging on for the season. Their number one draft pick quarterback, the future, done for the season. CJ Stroud, also the future for the Texans, having an MVP season. Definitely, potentially, possibly, more likely than not, going to be the offensive rookie of the year. Sam, what in the hell is going on with this game? Three-way tie, Colts, Texans, Jags. In this game, it's Houston versus the Colts. What's going on here? Are you going Indy to sweep? Let everybody know. What are we doing?
Man, this is a really tough one, and the reason is because of what you're a funny dude. Because of what the Texans have gone through, man. They had all these injuries at wide receiver. Their wide receiver room is not the same. They lost Hank Dell. That was a huge loss. They've had other injuries. I know Noah, what's his last name? Noah Gray, I think is his name. Or Noah Brown, thank you. Noah Brown, he's been in and out of the lineup, and then along with CJ Stroud being out. So we really haven't seen Houston for more than 1 week have this wide receiver missing, but also have CJ Stroud in the game. So, we haven't seen it consistently for multiple weeks to see what it's going to look like. So it's a really tough one. I think that if I had to bet on it, which we do for this podcast, I would be going with the Texans. I think that they're well coached this year. Their defense has been playing good. Will Anderson has been showing out and looking like a hell of a dang player on the defensive side. If I had to bet on them, that's who I would bet on. But I do think it could go either way. And this is another one I want to stay away from. I really would love to bet this, but with all the issues that the Texans have had and all the uncertainty and not seeing them with what they're going to be going into the playoffs, I would stay away from this one.
Basically a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Winning you're in scenario, and then win and possibly grab the division if Jacksonville loses. Two of the brightest young coaches in football here. When you got Steichen and you got D'Amico Ryans on the other side, they've done incredible jobs with both of their football teams. You'd have to look really hard and far to see anybody out there that was pegging these two teams to be in the playoff hunt at the end of the season. I felt like Houston could be 500 at the end of the season because I was really high on CJ. I didn't think that they would play this well. Very young team, as Sam illustrated. You're talking about Noah Brown. You're talking about a rookie Tank Dell, third rounder, Nico Collins, who just hadn't blossomed yet. This team is being well coached, and they're putting the right pieces together. They're maximizing talent. You're talking about an outcast at tight end, Dalton Schultz, who's had a fantastic season at tight end, and then even when he gets hurt, a rookie out of the University of Miami, Brevin Jordan, who had done nothing up until this point. He's caught a couple of touchdowns since that injury, so they've functioned really well. Devin Singletary coming over from Buffalo, journeyman. He's put together very good performances down the stretch for them in the running game. Defense has played very well as well for them. Colts on the other side, hats off to everything they've done. I definitely didn't believe in them just about all the season, but they're my pick in this game. I think ultimately they're going to win this game. I do like the Colts to win. It's hard when you look at the numbers. Houston's 3-4 away, but the Colts are only 4-4 at home. There's not a lot separating these two teams. I'm going with my gut. I think it's the Colts. I think offensively they'll find a way to win the game. If there is one slight lean, the Texans haven't been great against the run, and the Colts got Jonathan Taylor. They've been pretty good at running the ball all season long, whether it's been Zach Moss or Jonathan Taylor. I think that's going to be helpful for them. And, I'm going to go Colts over under. I kind of lean under, thinking like 23-20 is the score, just because it means so much for both these teams. That's what I got. How about you?
Absolutely incredible, amazing season from the Houston Texans. Not that the Colts don't have a lot of guys on IR, but the Houston Texans, Jimmy Ward, there's a lot of guys. They got Hassan Ridgeway. There's a lot of guys that they got. Kenyon Green. There's a lot of guys on IR for the Texans, and for them to still stand up and play the way that guys are playing. Hats off to the coaching staff and everything that both teams have done, because they both have sustained some incredible injuries and also jockeying for position for the first place shot. It's a shame that the Tennessee Titans also couldn't be involved in this, because this would be like a crazy three-way. This could be like a crazy three-way tie of all three head coaches in the same division, all played in the NFL. But it didn't end up working out that way. Houston Texans and CJ Stroud are playing really well. He's playing in this game. I give the nod to Stroud and the Texans. I don't want to crown him the best quarterback there ever was yet, like Mahomes. But it's very interesting watching this kid and moving forward, who he is as a player. I'm gonna take the over here in this one, and the Texans get giving up the one. I think that as good as has been. I don't think that they have wowed me as much as the Texans have down the stretch with the injuries. They're still hanging on, still battling divisional opponents and winning twice. Tennessee Titans once in overtime, and the second time they really got a hold of them, and it looked like the coaching staff knew what they were going to do this time around. So I'd expect the same type of treatment. I just don't think that they'll be able to shut down that Indianapolis offense as much as they did with struggling Tennessee Titans offense. Do you guys potentially think in this one, moving down the stretch here, obviously last game of the season, but moving down the stretch in the playoffs, do you think CJ Stroud could potentially end up walking the dance? You think he could make it to the last one?
Ooh,
Sam?
That's tough. That's a tough one. I would feel more comfortable saying there's a chance if there weren't all these injuries. He still had Tank Dell, still had these other guys. I would say no. I don't think there's a chance they can make it to the Super Bowl this year. I mean, I don't think that realistically they would even healthy. But if they were healthy the way they were playing, if they got hot at the right time, I could definitely see it. But I mean, it's the NFL. It's possible, but I would say I don't think there's a chance that they could get to the Super Bowl this year.
Just wanted to point out the first game they played Baltimore Ravens, and then the very next week, the first week they played 25-9 Baltimore Ravens. Next week 31-20. Not that CJ Stroud wasn't good in either one of those games because he's 242 for Baltimore. Well, against Baltimore, shall I say, and the Indianapolis Colts 384 against the Indianapolis Colts defense. And I would argue that he's playing. Stroud himself is playing a lot better down the stretch than he was in the beginning of the year. Still good, nonetheless. Charlie, what are your thoughts?
Well, off the injury, he came back and he didn't miss a beat, even shorthanded with the weaponry. No turnovers, 2 touchdowns, did exactly what he's been doing all season long. I mean, to be candid, the kid is borderline this season, top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He's a rookie. He's a rookie on the Texans. Okay, like it wouldn't be crazy to say he's top 5 quarterback in the NFL this season. They got to get in first, though.
Yeah, of course.
My heart is pulling for the Texans because CJ is my dude. You know, I was into him way back. So I mean, like, my heart says Texans. My brain says the Colts are gonna win this one. But if he gets in there, if they get in there, the way this team is playing. They've been playing with house money all season. They're well coached, like I illustrated with the point. You know, D'Amico Ryan's done an incredible job.
Absolutely.
Hats off to that whole organization. They made the right draft picks with Will Anderson. They've been bringing in talent. They made the right free agent acquisitions this season, and they put it all together. So they'd be a live dog. They'd be a live dog. I mean, live dog against Kansas City, live dog against Miami, live dog even against Buffalo. You know, they could beat those type of teams. We seen them, you know, play Cleveland a couple of weeks back. Cleveland ended up winning that game, if I'm not mistaken. So that might be a tough matchup. I don't think Houston's quite there yet. It's crazy to stay, but the future for this organization, it's all signs are pointing up. And in that division with Jacksonville, how they are, I haven't been a believer in Jacksonville. I mean, that division is, you know, up for grabs next season.
No.
Absolutely. All right, no doubt. Well, looks like it's going to wrap up Saturday. If anybody, if you guys have anything else to add, I think that just wraps up an action-packed Saturday, Week 18, guys. Routes.
Yeah, it's a fantastic way to get the weekend started.
Absolutely.
Saturday football, baby. Nothing better.
Absolutely. Good night.
Deuces.
Good day.
Good day.